What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and this is Regular Guy Training. We're out at the range again, and clearly I'm doing a bunch of reviews in one place. You can see all the banged up steel and that kind of stuff over there, just kind of putting the last couple of touches on this review in general. I'm out here standing next to the vehicles we're using for the vehicle class in May. So if you want to check that out, check that out. But that said, let's talk about this guy right here. This is the ACSS Vulcan, and they decided they were going to inhabit a Holosun body, like one of their older models that got updated with the better buttons and the freaking battery tray and that kind of stuff in there. So this isn't really a review on the optic because everybody already knows that the updates on the optic were pretty solid. Electronics protection are the same. I've already reviewed this. So let's talk about this reticle. Now, what's kind of funny about this is that the review on the optic itself actually came sort of a surprise because, as some of you may know, Dimitri's been posting crap on the Instagram and that kind of stuff, and he showed off his reticle and that kind of thing. And I typed in a thing he posted. I was like, I'm very interested in this. And then he immediately DMs me and goes, well, I can send it to you like right now. So he took me way too seriously in that comment, but I wasn't going to stop him. So, because this seems like an evolution of something that's already really, really good, because something that a lot of people have a lot of issues with is picking up the dot under speed. Either they've trained themselves up with a set of irons, or, you know, they have eye dominance issues or whatever. And what's kind of funny is that I decided that I was going to start experimenting with something individually, because you guys have seen me change up hands and holster positions and that kind of stuff a lot. And I get regular questions of, oh, are you left-handed now, or are you right-handed now? It's, guys, I'm just kind of doing whatever at this point, you know, because I trained out one side really good after, you know, living on the other side. So right now what I'm doing for handgun is I'm right-handed, but then I'm moving the left eye over to see if I can speed up acquisition of the sights, because I have like video game mouse clicking speed on my right hand. So I kind of want to match that up with a faster target acquisition on the left-hand side. And having to turn your head ever so slightly to pick up the reticle is something that is challenging, especially on a dot, which demands perfection out of your hand-eye coordination if you're going to pick it up consistently. So as far as the reticle goes, and we'll show you images of the reticle now. You can see that it's their ACSS chevron with, you know, their horseshoe, only it's huge, right? So the idea is that the horseshoe, once you have it at regular extension and when the reticle is centered, it doesn't show up at all. All you can see is the chevron, which is actually pretty good for a number of reasons, but I'll get into that here in a second. The horseshoe in and of itself actually helps you with misalignment, you know, of the handgun itself. So if you're drawing the handgun and you pick up something kind of weird, or you get in there kind of awful, you're not sitting there fishing forever. You can actually see where in the horseshoe that you're at, so you can correct yourself. And once you have yourself corrected, you can do what it is that you got to do. And this is on the fly versus having to fish. Now that may sound very attractive to a lot of people, because it is. And what I've noticed is it's not just a shift in the eye dominance and that kind of stuff. It's also like really goofy positions, shooting one-handed, especially when trying to do other things. Like, for instance, trying to do one-handed reloads or stoppage clearance and that kind of stuff. I can get back up on the dot significantly faster. I mean, significantly faster than how I used to. I mean, if I'm sitting here screwing around with a 9-hole wall and I'm having to get in a really awkward position and that kind of stuff, you know, in the past, I've lost the dot before when I'm just in this really weird position and that kind of shit, trying to figure out where the handgun goes in the friggin' holes and everything else, right? So, as far as that's concerned, I mean, it helps you pick up the dot significantly faster, or in this case, the chevron, which actually really does help. Now, a couple other things, like I read no directions when I was figuring this guy out, so if there are a couple other cool doodads about it, you know, drop that in the comment section below, help guys learn stuff. But I have noticed, you know, the very tippity top of the chevron, I'm zeroing at 25 because typically that's what guys do with their dots. But I have noticed much the same as a lot of other guys notice, that once you're zeroed at 25, you do actually have a little bit of a holdover between, obviously your optic and the bore. In this case, or in most cases, for a typical RMR height on the reticle, you're looking at around about 1.5 inches at 3, right? Which is not that big of a deal for most things, unless I'm trying to be very precise. So what's actually kind of cool here is that the tippity top of the chevron is your 25, but the bottom wings, I've noticed if I hat that on top of something that I'm trying to shoot, that pretty much covers the holdover and I'm good, so as far as just utility and everything else, it helps me be significantly faster in just about all things. I can be precise because I'm not worried about a sunbursting dot and that kind of stuff. Even if I'm looking at the target area as I should, the reticle itself isn't sunbursting or doing anything wild. It's not sunbursting, so with a very fine point at the very top, if I have to be precise at greater distances, I absolutely can. And that helps afford me really good target foreground and background because, the dot's sitting up above the slide and I don't have, any obscurity of the target area, and I can be very, very precise. What's also really cool about that is obviously I have close range holdovers, which allows me to just hat pretty much anything that I'm trying to shoot, and it hits direct center at very close ranges every time. So with a little bit of training, you can be very, very quick as far as just picking up multiple targets and that kind of stuff. And it really has accelerated my hand-eye coordination because it's not the horseshoe is not a perfect circle. In this particular case, what it does for misalignment is because it's not a perfect circle, it helps me figure out where in the circle or where in the reticle or where in the glass rather, then I'm off, right? Because if I have more straight walls or more curved walls, I can sit there and go, oh, okay, in this quadrant of the glass, I can move the gun over and there it is. And what I see is magnified by what I can feel as well. So it really does help out, especially with the fact that, again, on my draws, I'm having to turn my head ever so slightly, so it alters my perception versus just drawing it and putting it on the same eye that the gun hand is, right? So with that awkwardness that's there, it's really helped out speed up, moving that left eye over and doing what I got to do. So guys that have cross-eye dominant issues, guys that get into goofy positions when they train, which should be everybody, guys that do a bunch of one-handed shooting as far as their reloads and stoppage clearance and everything else, also being one-handed, which you should be doing. And if you don't know, you should go to class, and we have classes scheduled and that kind of stuff, so you should check that out. But point is that it really speeds up your reference and that kind of stuff, and it makes it very, very, very difficult to get lost. And since I picked this up, even while using the cross-eye dominant thing, I have not had to fish, meaning I have not had to do this one time. Because anytime that I bring the gun up and it's slightly misaligned, I see where it's at in the horseshoe, bring it over, and I'm ready to go. And as far as shot timers and everything else, like a whole 1/10 of a second loss. So instead of it being a third or half a second to figure out where your shit is, it's a 1/10 of a second because you know where in the reticle you are. So I know this is coming out in February and I'm talking about it now, so I guess I'm more or less making sure that this thing is going to be sold out as fuck when it gets here. But it would be really, really nice if this hit the market on the closed emitter dot, because I might want that. Food for thought, primary arms. So yeah, it was sent to me, and I really do like it. I really do like it a lot. I believe this is the next thing. This is huge in that it's the very next step, and a lot of people are going to start copying them in short order because, from what I understand, a bunch of people have received this before me. And a bunch of people pretty much agree with the same assessment that I've given it, is that this is an enormous thing in the evolution of handgun dots. So, that is what it is. But, as said before, if you guys want to come out and train with us, I believe that you should, especially now. I know ammo's tough. I know it's expensive. But while you're sitting there hoarding it, you might as well go to classes and figure out where you're at, get a good full body workout, and go from there, right? And get taught things along the way. Vehicle class coming up in May, we're going to get a third car here, and that's going to be in Drakesboro, Kentucky. So if you want to come out and train with us, you absolutely can. If you want to support us on Patreon, that's very much appreciated because it helps with a lot of projects, especially like this. And if you want to get some benefit out for yourself, it's $41 a month, and you can come out and train with us as much as you want to, so long as you're signed up for that $41 a month. And also, if you want to follow us on Facebook, we're there. Links for all this stuff are in the description below. And remember, guys, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.